Today on the LA Food Podcast. I'm gonna be honest with you, dear listener, this is almost certainly the worst episode we've ever recorded. I am sick, like brain fog, can't form a coherent thought, forgot what I was saying mid-sentence sick. And usually in a moment like this, I would simply not record, or I'd record and then spend hours in post trying to stitch together something resembling a functional human conversation. But today, we're doing something different. For the first time in LA Food Podcast history, you're getting the episode exactly as it happened. No edits, no safety net, no cutting out the parts where I sound like I'm actively losing my grip on reality, which, fair warning, happens more than once. So what you're about to hear is either an unfiltered, raw, behind-the-scenes look at how the sausage gets made, or just a complete disaster, possibly both. Now, despite my best efforts to derail this thing entirely, we actually do have a packed show for you. We've got listener feedback, including a note from Caper Media clarifying their business model after our last episode. We get into recent eats, including a meal that might be the best I've ever had with my parents, and another that made me question every life decision that led me to ordering that burrito. And finally, we've got an extended Chef's Kiss Big Miss, because apparently when I'm sick, I lose the ability to prioritize. We're talking everything from the New York Times updated 25 best restaurants in LA list, to Grant Achatz trying to reinvent Alinea, to whether Noma should actually be charging more than $1,500 a head, to a quote bold expose on the Infatuation's list-making process. We've got sushi discourse that will almost certainly expose me as a fraud. We've got Ravenous going full Gawker, hint hint, and we've got a surprisingly philosophical debate on the most influential food cultures in the world. This is either going to be our worst episode ever, or weirdly one of our most honest. As always, a reminder that the LA Food Podcast is part of the Acquired Taste Media family. Be sure to listen to our more competent sister podcast, Taekwondo with Bill Esparza. This week, Bill dropped part 2 of his interview with Andrew Zimmern. You're not going to want to miss it. As always, I'm your host, Luca Servodio, and without further ado, let's chow down. This episode of the LA Food Podcast is presented by our friends at MVA.wine. I recently sat down with Laurent Verns, the founder of MVA.wine, and my first reaction was, wait, why isn't everyone doing wine like this? They treat wine the way we treat food on this show. It's all about discovery, not the obvious places, the tiny producers, the bottles you only find when someone points you in the right direction. Here's how it works. They gather at a farmhouse in Tuscany and blind taste 50 to 60 wines. Every bottle has to get a unanimous yes, and only 6 make the cut. Oh, and every time they go to Tuscany for those tastings, they bring 2 members along, all expenses paid. That could be you, dear listener. The wines that make it come from incredible producers whose bottles rarely leave their region, wines you simply can't find in stores in LA or anywhere else. Membership at MVA Wine is capped at 600 people, so be sure to go snag a coveted spot as soon as you can, dear listener. To do so, go to mva.wine/subscribe. That's mva.wine/subscribe. You'll thank me later. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast, a man who I assume is starting to feel a little bit nervous at least about our Champions League bet. Saul, after this week's results, are you fearing that I might be getting hot at the exact right time for me?
Dude, it's not even that you're getting hot. You're getting lucky. It's one of those things where this bet, the real heartbreaking aspect of it for listeners is that it takes, what we do is we bet on each elimination round of the Champions League, which is the European soccer's highest and greatest competition. It takes real skill to pick your teams in the early rounds when there's a lot. We're now in the semifinal, there are only 4 teams, anything can happen. And so as I've been dominating Luca round over round, all of a sudden it's looking a little shaky. I'm technically winning still, but you have the momentum going into the second leg here, and I'm nervous.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. about it. I mean, you say dominating me round over round. I mean, it wasn't like, yes, okay, on paper it looks like domination, but there was some real... There was some real freak shit that happened.
No. I was just smarter than you. I was smarter and better, and I picked the better teams. And I think I nearly completely swept, called every one of the 8 games in round 1. I think I almost got them 100% right with like crazy domination on goal difference. People don't care about this, so we should stop. But you know what? Can I just say something? Why do you always bring this up opening? No one gives a shit about the Champions League. We should not talk about this.
I think there's maybe like 2 listeners who do. And for those 2 listeners, I just want them to know that they're seen, you know, kind of like, you know, I feel like people have done that for me in the past. You know, they let me know they're there for me when I need them. And I'm just
when you open a podcast like this, what eventually happens is that they're going to eventually be our only 2 listeners. Love them to death. We have a lot of shared interests, but
I've done NBA for like the last few weeks. I could have done that again.
I know, and even that's a problem. We got to expand beyond sports. We have well-rounded personalities. We care about things beyond sports. We're not just bros.
But would you rather I talked about the Middle East and like Trump or something?
There are other options. I just have to imagine there are. There's other fun current events. I should help you with this. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about Eric Swalwell with you next time. Okay, Jesus. Look, before we get into recent eats, I want to talk about listener feedback because we got some listeners weigh in on our last episode. On Spotify, Soy Takara agreed with you, Saul, that out of all of the new food media publications we discussed last week, Ravenous excited her most. Saul, how does it feel to be right all the time?
Feels normal. It's my day-to-day. Shout out to you, Soy Takara. We're on the same page.
Well, it's funny because last week I was like, I need to see more. And then this week, Ravenous literally took down their paywall for the next 2 weeks so that people can read their articles in order to get a taste of it and subscribe. We're actually going to be discussing one of their articles in our extended Chef's Kiss Big Miss today. But do you think that was a reaction to our episode?
No, this is just good. This is good business. I'm excited though. I'm excited to read because it's literally exactly what I want, right? I want to check it out for a couple of weeks and then hopefully feel compelled to subscribe.
Hopefully. Well, speaking of reaction to our episode, in our email inbox, we actually heard directly from Caper Media's Emma Orlo with a clarification read their business model. So apparently what we had said was that they had gone the investor route and pretty much left it at that. That's not entirely wrong. Emma said they are funded by investors. That's true. And that while they're not worker owned like Ravenous or Gourmet, they still and still have the standard newsroom hierarchy, 3 writers and several editors above them. They said it feels much more equitable to her than Eater was because its founders adopted the puck model of giving them all equity in the business in addition to their salaries, and they get a percentage of the subscriber revenue they bring in. So that model sounds kind of ideal when you add those extra layers in.
I mean, it's working for Puck, working very well. Yeah. So hopefully they're able to replicate it with Caper. Very cool.
And also she was quick to say, I think this is because we kept fucking up the name and saying Puck instead of Caper.
That was me. That's my fault. Yeah, sorry, Emma.
I just want to let all our listeners know they are not affiliated with Puck, okay? That Caper and Puck, get those 2 things out of your mind. It's Caper and Puck. That's it. Finally, on the video of our discussion on Maidon's You Can't See Me drink, which you can order with a John Cena inspired gesture if you should so wish, at Brown Sean said, "It's a little bit douchey is an understatement." Saul, I'm thinking of starting a campaign to normalize respectful douchiness because I just think people it has a bad rap that it doesn't deserve.
How about we start a campaign to make you less douchey? How can we think about that? That's an easier campaign. That's a one-man campaign. For the record, I'm the one who said it's a little bit douchey, and at Brown Sean is exactly right that is an understatement. Just to be clear.
I can't change who I am, okay? This is who I am, warts and all. It would be easier to change an entire population's opinions on douchiness than to change me. And you know that's true.
Okay.
All right, let's get into recent eats. Saul, where you been eating?
I've been hardcore on the home cooking this week. Because I kind of, we talked about it like, I have this like toxic relationship with food apps. I hate them. Food delivery apps. I don't like them, but sometimes you just get lazy and it sucks. And this week I've just been locked in cooking, made a chicken quesadilla last night, made some cod. I have been cooking my own lunches, bringing them to the office. I did have Loki at the office.
Oh, nice.
Loki is just the best. Gotta say, like, because I think 2 weeks ago had Chipotle like across the street from the office. And it's like, all right, whatever, like, it's a thing. It definitely does sit weird in the stomach. I thought that
Chipotle?
was like, yeah, it does. It does for me. Maybe it's because I have the hot salsa.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Chipotle can sit weird in the stomach for sure. It also has the unique effect of every time you have it, you're kind of excited for it, at least I am. Then every
Mhm.
time after I have it, I'm like, I just wasted a meal.
Yeah, it's kind of is like that. I am excited for it. I do enjoy the meal. I don't feel like I've wasted it. It's more like that evening I regret it more. Cookie,
Mm,
I have no such problems. The flour
good.
tortillas, the tacos, and it's their barbacoa taco. I think they have a beef taco that comes with a poblano chili in it. It's really really good. It's just like a really good taco.
And gastrointestinally friendly, I take it.
It just sits better, right? And it's still
Yeah.
and it is while it is I think a bit corporate friendly, right? Low keys
Hmm.
in that Culver City Mall or whatever platform,
The
right?
platform, yeah.
Yep, that's right. And it is like a total like order it in at the office sort of lunch. It is a more elevated sort of taco than you can normally get. So shout out Loki. I love Loki.
Yeah, there's something to be said for tacos that sit well in the stomach. I made the mistake so I went to a great event on Monday. It was at the Garibaldina Society. I invited you to it, but you did not come. It was a talk by Katie Parla, which was moderated by Eric Wareheim. Really great talk. They're also like apparently really good friends. And it turns out that having chemistry on a panel or podcast actually really matters. So maybe we should look into that. But it was just a fun event. I love the Garibaldina Society. Created like a whole spread of aperitivo dishes that were from Katie's new cookbook, Rome, which she talked about on her podcast a few months ago. And delicious stuff. Like it felt like being at an aperitivo bar in Rome, but it wasn't enough to really like fill my stomach. And I had a couple Negronis at the event. So I made the mistake of stopping by a local taqueria in Glassell Park, which I won't mention. All I'll say is that Bill Esparza has shat on it in the past. And I've always been like, come on, Bill, you're being a little hard on it. Okay. This place always has a line. It's got to be doing something right. When I say that the carne asada burrito I got was 50% grizzle, and that is being like inedible grizzle. Like I am not even exaggerating. That is the disappointing experience. That is one where you're like, I wish I had gone to Taco Bell instead, which is saying a lot.
Wow. And you're not naming them? You're not putting them on
Again,
blast?
I don't want to put them on blast because
I
I
thought
have
Recent
had
Eats was about positive experiences. What are you even talking about right now?
No, we're about to pivot to some really positive experiences. I'm just saying, like when you have a disappointing Mexican food experience, it's really disappointing because Mexican food in general is my favorite. It's about joy. It's about good times. So there's nothing worse than a bad Mexican food experience.
One could say all food is about joy and good times, but sure, yeah.
No, not all. Soylent, not about joy.
No, that's not food though. That's just I don't
Sustenance.
know. That's just like molecules. There's just
Yeah.
molecules in a bottle. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say about that.
Fair. Recent good eats that I've had. So my parents were in town the last couple days. So I had the classic conundrum of where do you take your parents? And I'd thought about this a little bit. And the two restaurants I landed on were one Loretto in Frogtown because I'd recently had a really good meal there. And I wanted to take them somewhere close to home. And another restaurant on Abbot Kinney called Owa, which is the restaurant I mentioned last week that is owned by a Roman guy and they're making sushi. Loretto, I just wanted to say, my dad said it was his favorite restaurant I've ever taken him to.
Wow.
So, yeah. This is not a man who likes trying new flavors. He has an aversion to cilantro. He has an aversion to most spiced things. He'll stay up late at night and say that like there was too much garlic in something for him. Like
He's Italian.
I know, but he's a pretty delicate stomached Italian. He said this was his favorite meal I've ever taken him to. And there were some out there dishes because Loretto is gearing up to do an omakase starting in June. And they were trying it out that day in their kitchen and they had a couple of the dishes left over. So they let us try it. So they brought to the table this like borscht inspired tuna crudo. Okay, first of all,
Ooh.
Tuna crudo with like borscht and beets, not something my dad would typically like gravitate towards. Fucking loved it. He was drinking the broth.
Wow.
A halibut tostada which first of all, super clean, absolutely delicious on their tostadas raspadas, which are, out of this world crispy. But on top, they're dotted with these little flowers. And usually every time I see flowers, I run away in horror because I'm like, this is just it's just an aesthetic choice to me. It's not really ever adding flavor. These were little fennel blossoms that actually added like almost like a whisper of fennel in the background of the dish. Both was beautiful and served a purpose. So I was really impressed with that. And then we just got a bunch of their hits, but there's something so rewarding about taking people you love out to dinner and them absolutely falling in love with the restaurant. And I don't get to do this that often with my parents because they live in Switzerland and they come here once a year, if that, and it's usually only for a couple days. So I've got to get it really right. The window to get it right is very, very brief. And I got to say, Loreto, F. Paco, Alejandro, the whole team there, thank you so much for making this one a home run. Saul, when was the last time you went to Loreto?
It was with you, dude, right?
That was the only time?
That was the only time. I had plans to go. When was this? I had like booked Loreto for something, either my sister or, oh shoot, I should take my sister to Loreto. You're reminding me right now. Actually, I'm going to add her to the list because she's coming in June. We will add Loreto. I think it was on the list last time she was here, and we ended up at Ati instead. That's what happened. Yeah.
Well, you didn't fuck that one up, according to you, then.
No, not at all. I crushed it. Ati is the best. But Loreto was really great too when we went, and I do want to return.
Well, we got to go for the omakase. Like that's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I'm psyched about that.
Okay, and as far as Owa, the restaurant on Abakini, we're going to be talking about a story in a little bit by Lagai Mishan about how sushi has become like kind of really all the same. All these omakase experiences, just they're a dime a dozen. What I like about Owa, and maybe it's because it's done by an Italian chef, is it feels like, fun again. Like I feel like when I go out to sushi, it's not fun. And maybe it's just because you're going to all these very serious places where like food is art and the fish is being treated with a seriousness that it deserves, a respect it deserves. Don't get me wrong. But what I liked about Owa is that it was very like laid back, and all the like it had something for everybody. If you wanted to go the nigiri route, it had you covered. If you wanted to have like the crazy roll experience, it also had you covered. But then also if you wanted to do sushi altogether and just go with like some, miso glazed black cod or some like chicken teriyaki or something, it was just a low stakes sushi experience. And I feel like we don't have enough of that in this high pressure sushi city that is Los Angeles. So
I think we have so much accessible sushi here. Also, what are you talking about? Bring your own fun. You're supposed to have fun because you're out with someone you hopefully care about and are enjoying time with. That part is fun.
You can't bring your own fun to omakase, bro. It can't be done. No, you can't.
I'll show you. Let's go to omakase. I'll show you how to bring fun to omakase.
Dude, the only way you can bring fun to an omakase dinner is if you are sticking out like a sore thumb and being a douchebag.
You're actually a little bit right. If you're at the chef's counter, omakase, I understand what you mean in that there's the intimacy of the interaction with the chef kind of intrudes on whatever might be your also own interactions, whatever, having fun. I understand what you mean. I still think it's doable. And I don't know. I think painting sushi broadly, I understand why.
Yeah.
But isn't omakase, we might be about to get into this later, but omakase is supposed to be like a special occasion, and it is. But because it's become so accessible and in demand, I think it's become more of I think people go more than you're supposed to. Like, I don't know. There's something, because it's so like accessible now, it feels like the experience has been maybe cheapened in some way. Like that's what I'm hearing. There's like a jadedness. You sound jaded, bro.
I'm definitely, well, first of all, let me just caveat this by saying I am not a sushi head. I go to sushi because I have to. Like my wife's favorite food is sushi, so we do that for special occasions. I just never leave satisfied. And you can like absolutely roast me for not understanding it, for not like, being, I don't know, refined enough to fully get down with it. But it's just not for me. Is that okay? What? Is that okay for me to admit?
I don't know. It might not be, honestly. What do you mean not satisfied? That's crazy.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Full? You mean like you didn't feel like, really?
I don't definitely never full. And unless I've like sincere, like really gone deep into the wallet and made financial decisions that I will regret for a very long time, that's when I feel full. But satisfied, I don't know why. It doesn't hit the satisfaction like ticker in my brain, This
is interesting. Based on everything you just said.
Yeah.
Why isn't I understand some differences, but is this general trend also true for you for high level fine dining with a tasting menu? You used to be anti-tasting menu. We've since been to like Celine and Vespertine, and then like that opened your eyes differently. But more broadly speaking, is this actually, yeah.
I think no, because this applies to literally all sushi. Like
just sushi though.
Yeah, just sushi. Like the thing that made the Owa experience good for me is that there was other stuff on the menu that I could dip into, like the cod, like the chicken, like, that kind of stuff. I like Japanese food. I love Japanese food. Tsubaki, Toto.
Yeah, good save, bro.
I mean, no, but it's like saying I don't like pizza, but I like Italian food. You know, like there are people who say that.
You just compared the ancient tradition of omakase sushi to pizza? Is that what I heard?
I actually think that's a great comparison. I do.
What?
The tradition of sushi making and okay, first of all, if you read the Guy Michon's piece, you'll see that not all sushi was this highfalutin, out of touch thing.
No, I understand that. Yeah. Well, I said omakase sushi. I said like
fair. Yeah. But I just mean like at its core, the craftsmanship of a master pizzaiolo and the craftsmanship of a master sushi master, I don't think are that far off. Am I going to get canceled for saying that?
I think they're far off just in terms of like knowledge and technique a little bit. No disrespect to pizza. It is a skill set. I don't think it's particularly close based on what I learned from Jiro Dreams of Sushi, basically.
I think in this conversation, we've both proved that neither of us are qualified to be having this conversation.
I feel completely qualified to. You're the one who just doesn't. Okay, we need to move on. We have a lot to cover here.
All right. Sorry. Just really quick shout out to Herman's. I went for a second time, and it's still awesome. If it's still worth the line, I even dropped a list this week of 10 restaurants that are 10 tough reservations that are still worth it, and Herman's is very much included in that. And actually, I'll be mentioning Herman's in just a moment here in one of our Chef's Kiss Big Miss. So, a lot of stories this week, none that really rose to the level of Big Deal of the Day, so we're doing an extended Chef's Kiss Big Miss. Dear listener, I'm not going to play the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire theme song the entire time, because 30 minutes of that would drive me insane. I'm just going to play it at the beginning, and then it will gently fade off into the night. Saul, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
The New York Times dropped an updated edition of their 25 best restaurants in Los Angeles right now list. The list last dropped in September, and now 6-ish months later, we're getting an update. What changed? Well, I kind of don't know. There's no way to my knowledge to see what's been added, removed, or altered unless we start logging it ourselves. Oh, an updated list where we can track the updates, Chef's Kiss or Big Miss.
So I want to confirm that this is true, that we can't go back. If we can't go back and see trends, that's a bummer. Like, you want to see that's good historical record. Yeah. You Googled it. You like double checked?
Yeah. I did Google searches to see if we could see the list from September, and every time I searched that, this list just kept coming up.
Yeah, not the preferred format. Really good list. I thought overall, like a strong list, but it'd be really fun to see how it's changed over time. I don't know what the challenge is there.
What? So you're saying that in general, this list holds up? Nothing feels out of date or any glaring omissions?
Out of date? I mean, no. It's a well-rounded, solid list. I think. I mean, as you know, I'd put Ati on it, but otherwise, I mean, I don't have. I actually went through. I think I've hit 17 of 25, so I have a little bit of work.
That's really
to do.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a high percentage.
And they're good spots. I like that. I like all 17. I wouldn't take any one of them off.
The glaring omission. Okay, I would sub a couple out if I'm being honest. And those are, and it's just because the title of the list is the 25 best restaurants in Los Angeles right now. So it's basically like where to eat in Los Angeles right now. It's not that the restaurants I'm about to call out are bad. It's just that I think that those restaurants could be updated with others. And that is number 1, Machin. Love Chef Jonathan. Love everything he's done over the last 10 years plus of running Machin and Milpa Grill and Distrito 14. But I think if you're going for where to eat right now, the taqueria to include is probably Taqueria Frontera, other than Comal, which is already on there.
Ooh.
And I'm just surprised. Well, I'm also doing this like putting my Tejal Rao hat on, and how much she loved Taqueria Frontera. I'll be honest, I actually have had a couple disappointing experiences last time I went to Frontera. And I don't know if it's because they're expanding or because I don't know. It wasn't the place I talked about in Recent Eats, but the last couple times I had their pastor, it was lacking that like special spice that it had the first few times I had. And I don't know what's up with that. You never liked it.
I really liked their asada. I liked that. I didn't like their pastor as much. I thought that was supposed to be the thing. And I like other pastor more than their style of it. Maybe it's notable that Tejal wrote such a good and timely review of Frontera, right, in LA, but it's off her list of top 25.
Oh, you're saying it was political?
No. I'm just saying that it like didn't rise to the level of this list. Like, she gave a great review, but it's not top 25 for her. I think that's notable, right?
That is notable. It is notable indeed. The other one I wanted to quickly call out was Found Oyster. Love Found Oyster, adore Last Word Hospitality. But if we're talking about that kind of restaurant, I'd actually sub it out with another Last Word Hospitality restaurant, and that is Herman's. Like, Herman's is definitely where to eat in Los Angeles right now. There's a reason it has a line around the block at 5:30 every evening. It's got a very similar ethos to Found Oyster, and I think it's the perfect representation of that neighborhood restaurant that is really defining Los Angeles right now. So my substitutions would be Frontera for Machine and Herman's for Found Oyster. Fight me.
50% ain't bad. I mean, it's kind of bad, but we can't all be perfect.
All right, moving on to the next one. Grant Achatz made waves last week when he dropped a Substack post titled Alinea Again. In the piece, Achatz explores a question that his game-changing Chicago restaurant has been facing for some time. Do we become a museum of ourselves, honoring the past with reverence and precision, or do we start again? In 2,700 words that span the history of modern fine dining from Escoffier to Redzepi, by way of some tortured Luca-approved metaphors, it reveals that the answer he unsurprisingly has come to is that Alinea must change into what you ask? Immersive, narrative-driven dining experiences where food serves a larger emotional and theatrical arc rather than standing alone. All 700 words to say, hey, we're different now. Chef's kiss or big miss?
Well, what it really is 2,700 words in response to Lagaya Michon's review, I think. I think that's what this is. And maybe this was always coming because they did do the world tour, right? And they went to, LA, Miami, New York, and more, I think. So that's what this read like, being like, hey, and I'm not sure if Lagaya's was the only sort of middling review that they got over the past year. So it was kind of more like a, hey, new statement. I think it's a chef's kiss in the sense that you kind of have to reestablish, right? It's important to send the message that like, hey, you've seen these stories, you saw this sort of assessment of our work. Here's a statement that we're going to be doing things differently now. In that case, it's a chef's kiss. I did not read the whole thing. I skimmed a bit of the middle, but I thought it was interesting where he landed referencing the Brooklyn and Beverly Hills pop-ups that they did as sort of like the scaffolding of the new idea.
Yeah, he kind of talked about the Brooklyn and the Beverly Hills residencies, the one at the Mayborn, which you actually attended, as the ones that were really key in acting as testing grounds for this new quote unquote theatrical approach. As I recall, you kind of found it corny, right?
Well, no. The approach was cool. The food felt second priority and kind of hit and miss, right? Now, what's interesting is, and I don't think the Mayborn pop-up is what he's saying Alinea will become in Chicago next, because he's saying they're going to do all new dishes, all new food, etc. Whereas in the pop-up, they were doing a lot of classics, run back the hits, hot potato, cold potato, like a bunch of different stuff. Also, it's not their own space. So you did have kind of like clunky transitions. It was really theatrical, really like immersive and interesting. That part read as more important to them than the food at times, right? I don't like I'd maybe one bite, literally hot potato, cold potato, where I was like, whoa, that's cool. And the rest was like, okay. I know Emily loved the dessert on the table. She still references that as one of her favorite desserts. But overall,
did it taste good?
Like, it did. Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was corny that it was on the table again, right? Like there was that part felt a little silly. And so if they bring that back again in New Alinea, I'll be like, how much are you really changing? Like, I want to see what they shift up. But what it seems like, based on this piece, is that he's going to really lean into the theatricality element. And I think if he's able to do that while also elevating and pushing the food forward, then we're in for a really interesting new evolution of Alinea. And I think that's possible. They left a really, really cool menu that was written like a movie, right? It was different scenes in a movie. The other thing with the pop-up was that the food progression didn't actually follow the menu at times. I think they were making tweaks in real time as they were going along. So that was also kind of would throw you for a loop. Presumably when they actually do it at the restaurant, and they have this story unfold and the food follows a story arc, like I will be interested in that if they are able to move the ball forward.
Yeah. I read the entire piece, unlike you, and I have been sick today, so I've been, a little bit more sedentary than usual. I thought it was really well written.
Yeah.
It was just like he posed some really interesting questions to himself and gave really exciting metaphors, and also did a good job of tying the thread between the history of innovation in the kitchen to where he sees them fitting into it today. And I don't know, I thought he did it in a really clear, concise way. 2,700 words sounds like a lot, but it actually flew by while you were reading it. The thing that really stuck with me too is I think you're absolutely right. He kind of buries it at the end, but he does mention the lukewarm reviews. He said reviews plural, but reading between the lines, you can kind of tell that the Lagaya Michon one really is living rent free in his head. And it kind of never fails to astound me how much these high profile chefs give a shit about critics. Like, not just people not liking their food, but critics. And I think that is a really interesting line back to like arts and criticism too, like the arts and the art of criticism as well. It's something that it's almost like a storied tradition that we just can't break away from. I can't really think of a single chef I've interviewed who doesn't have some sort of strong emotion when you bring up an actual food critic's review of their restaurant. Is it a generational thing or is it just an artist thing?
What do you mean generational? That's just a human thing, dude. Who likes being criticized? Who likes getting a negative review? No one likes that. I mean, even like LeBron James doesn't like getting criticized too much. Like everyone, no one's like immune.
But there's a difference. There's a difference between some asshole sounding off on their podcast or on social media and the New York Times dropping a criticism. And I feel like some chefs take the two things equally. Some chefs don't. And Ackett seems to be very much in the pocket of chefs who don't. And to me, the ones who don't seems like a generational thing. It seems like the critic is God in their eyes.
I wouldn't go that far. I think a bad review is bad for business. Number one, right? Like I think it could be that simple. Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially think of if I imagine Alinia's customer base, I think a bad New York Times review could, I mean, maybe not like ruin them or anything, but like that's a significant dent. That's like legitimate. Like, hey, he's not just a creative chef; he's a business owner. That matters, right? Someone's giving you a bad review of your business. That's one. Two, yes, I'm sure like chefs like him have an ego and they want to continue to be seen as the vanguard. And the clear message of the guy's piece was like, this place has become kind of stale. What's interesting to me is in the Substack, he didn't actually really engage with the criticisms fully. He does like the whole piece in a sense is an engagement with the criticism that like I think it felt maybe outdated, right?
Yeah.
At Alinea. He also goes like, why do we get bad reviews? Well, maybe it's because I was on tour, right? Probably. That's probably why. Like when it's like, no, not necessarily. Like it's more the fundamental experience you're putting forward. But really the whole suggestion that he's going to transform their approach they're taking is the response. And I don't think it's a surprise at all, or even a generational gap, right? A young chef would feel just as shitty if they got like a middling review from the New York Times.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that a middling review has the same business impact it once did. I actually think there are certain things that give you more of a business boost than criticisms these days.
No doubt. And if you mean social media virality or other brand things, sure. But I do think, like literally, we read the Thomas Keller like French Laundry thing, and it was like
famous young chef Thomas Keller.
Yeah, no, but whatever. But what I'm saying generally is that like I do think yes, there are other ways to get business and be successful. No one wants a bad review. I don't think it's like rocket science. Like no one wants a bad review, and especially for these chefs who have been at the top of the game for a long time, I see why they feel so strongly and responsive to the narrative that they have lost their touch, right? Or lost their fastball.
Yeah. No, I can understand that too. I just think like sometimes it feels like sometimes when people evolve in their careers, they start to care less about what critics have to say about them because they have a better sense of who they are. But it feels like chefs never really shake that with
Give me an example.
Food critics.
Like who are you talking about?
Jose Mourinho. You want me
Bro, I think that dude is just as thin-skinned as he used to be.
Yeah, maybe. I guess. Yeah, you might be right. Well, there's definitely other examples in sports, but I give way too many sports analogies. There's just, I don't know, like I would like to think that as you get older, you get more self-assured, that you stop caring as much what other people think and you just do you. I mean,
how much more self-assured are you? How much more self-assured are you than 10 years ago? Definitely more
self-assured. Yeah.
But how much, like on the scale? Let's be real, my guy.
I think like you think if I got a negative criticism from the New York Times, I'd kill myself.
I didn't say that, but you wouldn't be very happy, I don't think. if they wrote the Luca expose and be like,
well, hey, expose is different than an expose. Okay,
yeah. But they're like, hey, this is kind of a mid podcast, but if we're being real.
We get that all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you wouldn't like that. Right.
Yeah.
Come on. This is
Yeah.
not rocket science.
Yeah, no, it's not rocket science. It's more so just how I wish the world would be. Okay, look, I think overall we're going to give this long but very substantive Substack post a chef's kiss, and I'm excited to see Alinia's new direction. Maybe we'll get there. Who knows? Speaking of high-profile dining experiences, Daniel Hernandez, a food editor of the LA Times, took one for the team and dined at Noma after critics Bill Addison and Jen Harris famously refused to do so. Overall, it's fair to say that Daniel didn't, quote, get it. The part of the piece I found really interesting, however, was that the dude leading the operation in the wake of Renee stepping away, Pablo Soto, had quite the response when asked about the $1,500 price tag. I struggle to think that there's any restaurant that is charging what they are supposed to charge for food, said Soto, meaning all dining should be more expensive, Hernandez asks. 100%, the chef said. Noma insists on paying a living wage, paying interns after previously not doing so, codifying a 3-day work weekend for staff without exception. All of this costs resources, he noted, because in most fine restaurants, someone somewhere is getting shorted in the system. Someone is paying the price. Maybe the animals are getting shorted. Haha. So I think we are in the process of discovering how can we make this better. So what do you think of the response to "Are you too expensive?" being, nah, we should be more expensive? Genius reframing of a chef's kiss, or is this guy serious? Big miss.
I think he's making a real point here, which is that he's simply making a point about, I think, the margins at restaurants and also who gets squeezed in the supply chain process. I think, right? Like, even as labor has become more and more expensive especially in California, I think, like, it's still, most restaurant workers are still underpaid, right? They're not paid a living wage, right? So I think the point he's making is not like, hey, let us charge more. It's that, hey, realistically, you are constantly underpaying for food, given the labor and materials and rent and everything that goes into it. Someone's being squeezed down the line. Usually it's the actual chef, I think, and staff. In the case of Noma, I think because they have the power they have in the scene, they're able to charge prices that at least allow them to pay living wages for staff and give them 3 days off and all that. But I think the point he's making fairly is like, I think it's a completely fair point. I don't think it's like pay whatever more, but it's just the acknowledgement that, like, it's kind of not working for everyone right now. More broadly, right? Like, food is kind of, the economy of food's not working. It's too expensive for customers, and even as customers are paying more, it's not enough for restaurants to survive.
Yeah, the problem is when you make an argument, a systemic argument like this, in a moment when you as an organization are under fire, it looks a lot like deflection, or it looks a lot like,
that's it. Like, I didn't read it like that at all. I didn't read it like that at all.
I mean, it's like this, right? It's like, okay, for example, what?
I was about to disagree with myself. I was about to say, I get how it is a pivot.
It's a pivot. It's
a pivot. Yeah. I think it's a fair point, and it's a pivot. You're not wrong.
Both things can be true. It's a fair point. This was not the question or the time to make it necessarily, especially given the broader context. Like, this is a broader problem argument, usually is a way to deflect when an organization is under fire.
But I think he's just answering why this is, I mean, they're saying, why is it $1,500? It's like, hey, look, we're paying, like, because of all this work it takes. And if we want to pay our people well or whatever, this is what's going to cost. And in fact, if you want to be real, you probably should be paying more so other restaurants can also pay their workers well. Like, I don't think it's a full pivot. I think it's a straight answer. I think they're not getting, I don't think they're getting, like, super rich off this. Like, no. Really, like, the chefs who are working it, they're just able to pay a living wage, and they're able to bring their kids over from Denmark and have them in school, which is, I guess, like, look, it's an exorbitant price, right? And Daniel kind of, like, ends the piece being like, look, this is the experience. I didn't really have a bite that blew me away. $1,500 is nuts. My favorite part of this piece were his quotes from the diners he was with. I think it's Ryan Fang and Anthony Fung, who are two, like, fine dining appreciators, quote unquote. Yeah. Anthony Fung gives this quote where he was like, he's a 22-year-old doctoral student. So he's in school for bioengineering. One of his life's goals is to eat at all the world's 3 Michelin star restaurants. Yeah. And he goes, I'm not into cars or expensive hobbies. Spending money. I'm like, what? Eating at every 3 Michelin restaurant in the world, not into expensive hobbies? I thought it was like a little funny thing, right?
Yeah, I think he meant, like, this is my expensive hobby.
Yeah. I think that might have, like, he's, like, not into other expensive hobbies. But I thought that was a funny note. And the interesting takeaway of Daniel's piece is kind of like, Is it worth it? If you're in the cult, I guess. The cult of fine dining a little bit.
Do you think it's a cult? Do you think that's a fair characterization, or it's a bit of like easy low blow?
Not literally definitionally, but I do think it's the same thing as like, high fashion, high art, like indie, like art house films. Like these are things I don't quite get either, but people I think pursue them and or pay a lot for them. Yeah, it's up to the taste, right? It's up to the taste of the people. I think like I've noted repeatedly how last year I went hard on the Michelin stars and left feeling pretty cold though towards them, right? Like I just don't like the experience, like it doesn't give me the same experience as going to Mercado La Paloma, right? Like I find that more pleasurable, right? Every time. For other people, it's different. And it's a status symbol, absolutely. It's a ego thing, absolutely. It's a curiosity thing. I thought one of the diners also said, like, I think it might have also been Anthony, who was like, I want to experience all the world's cuisines through fine dining. And it's like, or all the cultures. And I'm like, well, fine dining is its own culture, right? It's kind of like you have different flavors and different ingredients, but it's not actually experiencing all these different cultures. It's experiencing the same culture with different sort of, drapery on it, right? And different sort of like gradients.
Or you're kind of experiencing different cultures through the exact same lens.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, people also experience different cultures through movies or whatever else. So it's allowed, but I think it's an interesting view. I think so much of it is social status and signaling. I think
the art house comparison is a really good one, actually, because personally, I can't stand a fucking art house film. I'm never going to sit down and be like, I want to watch this movie. I'd only watch it if I need to because it's part of like the cultural zeitgeist or because my wife makes me or something. Actually, my wife would never make me watch an art house movie. It would be more like one of my pretentious friends. But I can also recognize that because of that, I am probably not qualified to talk about whether an art house movie is good or not. And that makes me think probably not, that there's probably a good comparison to be made for fine dining. Like just because you like food doesn't necessarily mean you are a good person to speak about fine dining, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's literally what the argument of our friends over at Mad Food make, right? That's literally what so I kind of disagree with you, right? Like, I
just Mad Food myself?
You did, bro.
Wow.
Totally. But I disagree with you on both accounts. You can absolutely watch an art house movie and be like, I didn't like it. Now, you can also say, maybe I don't have full context. Maybe I don't have I'm not steeped in like the tradition of this movie making or whatever. But I know for a fact I did not like this, right? And if you tell me it's the greatest thing ever, go have a great time, whatever. But like this was not for me. You can absolutely do that with high fashion and fine dining too. Like it's all fair game. Though I think there's no real difference there. You can say, hey, if I like what people who are in these scenes, I really do think it's like, no, I want to be the one who like knows the most, and I can wield that. Like that's my thing. That's my identity, and that's my social capital and my brand. And therefore people will respect me because I know something about this, right? And I generally think if you get your identity and value from things like that, I don't know if you're in the best place. I don't know if that's like the most admirable thing to be. But that's like it gives people that, right? That's what it's there for. For the rest of us, we get to experience something new and someone pushing the boundary, and we can decide whether or not it relates for us. Sometimes fine dining does, sometimes it doesn't. I bet I like some art house movies. I bet I don't like plenty of others.
Yeah, wow. You are carrying this because my med-riddled brain is just leading me down some dark paths on this podcast. Moving on to the next one. In the wake of the Infatuation's latest 25 best pizzas in New York list, the blog New York Eats Here dropped a hit piece arguing that the Infatuation no longer functions as independent food media because its ownership by JP Morgan Chase turns restaurant lists into a customer acquisition funnel for credit cards rather than a biased editorial. It claims that curated lists like Best Pizza in America prioritize restaurants that fit the lifestyle and reservation ecosystem of Chase cardholders, effectively serving the bank's business model. The piece concludes that while writers may act independently, aka pay for their own meals, show up unannounced, all the things that the Infatuation says in its reviews, the structural incentives mean the platform is fundamentally marketing, not criticism. Saul, the argument that these lists are best understood as, quote, 25 restaurants whose presence here helps sell a $550 annual fee credit card to people who want to feel like they have access in this city, insightful chef's kiss, or welcome to the modern world, kid, big miss.
It's a fair thing to point out. The piece read a little bit like the Always Sunny conspiracy meme, the Pepe Silva.
It
Pepe
did.
Silva. It's like, yeah. It's obvious. They're branded. Like, everyone can see it. The thing that was missing for me from this is that if I'm understanding the claim, it's that, Infatuation purports to be a reviewer and a tastemaker. Really, all they want to do is highlight the kinds of restaurants JP Morgan potential Chase customers would like.
Correct.
And then get them there. And so the smoking gun for this is that Infatuation consistently overlooks the types of establishment. I don't know what they would be, food trucks or I don't know, like the types of establishment that would not appeal to that audience, and because they're a marketing arm, right? So you'd have to have like hey, Infatuation is consistently overlooking X kinds of restaurants in X kinds of markets or price ranges or whatever in favor of these kinds of restaurants, specifically to reach the customer, like this kind of like audience. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some trend there in some way, shape, or form. I think that's more due to maybe the tastes and breadth of knowledge of Infatuation critics more so than, and they keep making the point over and over in the piece that like, it's not the writers that are sold out. The writers aren't bought. They think they're doing a good job. But the reality is that if you're owned by this corporate structure, you are a marketing arm and not a reviewer. I think there's like, you can't, like, a little bit, you can't have it both ways. A little bit of kernel of truth. A little bit, they're trying to take on a competitor, which they acknowledge at the top of the piece. Fair game. They're owned by a credit card company, and the way that Infatuation justifies its existence is by bringing in money for Chase Sapphire. That has to color, I think, some of the stuff generally, but I think not in terms of the reliability of the reviews necessarily. More like, hey, I understand if I'm reading the Infatuation, I'm reading it from I'm reading a service that's speaking to this kind of person. And if I want a more broad view or something, I read something else, basically.
Yeah, I thought that the smoking gun in this piece was not as smoking as it seemed, just because they say that they can, like, they have a paper trail of proof in terms of why these lists are essentially pay for play. Their conclusion is just that it's Infatuation is owned by a credit card company, and that's the entire proof. They make some compelling reasons as to why that's problematic, but I don't know. I kind of think in the food media ecosystem, we just have to accept that the Infatuation exists and it does what it does. Like, it exists to do what it does, and it does that thing pretty well. It's not the Bible. Obviously, its list of the 25 best pizzas in New York isn't the be all end all, and there's going to be tons of places on there that aren't included. But that's true of any list. Same thing when like for example, when Open Table, their editorial arm, drops a list and it's like the 12 must visit restaurants in Los Angeles right now. Oh, they happen to all be on Open Table. Nobody's complaining about that. It's a nice list. People like to have lists to categorize things. So yeah, I just thought this was a little bit much ado about nothing. Interesting, but
I understand. And also, by the way, it's not just Infatuation, to your point. This is like food media ecosystem is moving this way. It's what keeps things alive. I don't know if Infatuation's doors would still be open if they hadn't been acquired by Chase. Isn't it like Resi's American Express, Open Tables, Visa or something? I don't know. Like that's, I mean, LA Times and the LA Times food section is owned by a billionaire. Like this is like.
But the point he was making was that there's a firewall between those newsrooms and the corporate ownership, like at the New York Times and at the LA Times and these places, and that doesn't exist at the Infatuation.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
anyways.
No, not unfair, I guess.
Yep, good try, New York Eats here. Next one, Ravenous testing out the Gawker thing. In an effort to boost subscribers, as I mentioned, new food media startup Ravenous is letting people read articles for free for the next week or so. One such article was headlined, quote, Food Media Horror Stories, in which the founders all share some of the cringiest moments they've been privy to during their careers. In the spirit of honesty and good old-fashioned goss, the subheader reads, here's a tasting of the worst dramas we've faced in our time. The stories span getting soft canceled for calling a Netflix show boring, to a disgraced chef complaining that a reporter was, quote unquote, being mean to him. Saul, this feels like Gawker style food media. Would you look at that? How did that land for you? Salacious chef's kiss or not enough fire for the smoke, big miss?
No, fun. And trying new things, right? They have to, like, I didn't read Gawker that much, so I don't fully understand the reference, but
It's like gossip. It's like gossip and
gossipy stuff.
salaciousness.
Yeah, that's kind of fun, man. It's like a different angle. We don't always get that. We don't always get like behind the scenes, like, whispers and like if that's an angle that like I'm reading the piece, then that's like go for it. Yeah.
I liked it. All I'll say is I think they can push the envelope further. Like I loved the hook. The stories were a 6 out of 10 for me. I just want to see the dial turned up, not necessarily calling out names. I understand why you have to make some things blind items, but for fuck's sake, let's show us where the bodies are buried. Okay, last couple ones, and then we'll get you off to the Sixers game. Ligaya Michon says that what we were all thinking about sushi, at least what I was thinking about sushi. In the New York Times, she says that omakase has drifted far from its origins as a fast, humble street food, becoming an expensive, highly curated experience that often prioritizes luxury, spectacle, and uniformity over discovery and craft. She critiques how many top sushi counters now serve safe, crowd-pleasing bites and rigid tasting menus that remove spontaneity and dull the sense of surprise that once defined omakase. Ultimately, it suggests that despite technical excellence, much of today's elite sushi feels controlled and indulgent, leaving diners impressed but emotionally and intellectually unmoved. Maybe that's what I'm feeling, brother. Okay, the detail I wanted to fixate on that was this, because I couldn't get this out of my head. As an example of spontaneity, Michon recalls a dinner when at a restaurant named Jewel Baco in New York, the couple next to Ligaya and her partner insisted they run off with them for a weekend in Cabo. Saul, yeah, you read that right. Saul, spontaneously running off to Cabo with people you just met at a $500 omakase. Fuck it, chef's kiss, or you've got a death wish, big miss.
I love it. Hell yeah. Did she go? I hope she went.
No, they politely declined.
I mean, let me make a slight adjustment. I actually wouldn't want to go with strangers to Cabo. I would
depends on the strangers.
I don't know if it does. I probably wouldn't do it. I would go spontaneously on a trip with like people I know and love to Cabo. If we were at Omakase being like, should we go to Cabo? Then we're going to Cabo. Let's just go. Yeah. Right. If it's with a random I want to know how cool Ligaya is that she's just like getting invites to Cabo from random strangers.
Yeah, there are a few people I would do it with spontaneously, but I don't know. Usually the people who are at those dinners aren't the kind of people you want to go to Cabo with.
Do I make the cut? We going to Cabo?
Fuck no. Next one. Finally, and then we'll get you off to the Sixers game. On the latest episode of Taekwondo, Bill Esparza interviewed Andrew Zimmern of Eating Anteater Testicles fame. In the conversation, Zimmern made the proclamation that the two most important food cultures in the world are, without question, Mexican and Chinese. The social clip we posted on the It's Acquired Taste feed sparked quite a debate. It's now at 172,000 views and more than 1,000 comments. As you can imagine, many people disagreed and offered differing points of view, but the cuisine that was brought up most often as one of the most influential that was not named by Andrew was Indian. Bill, in the comments, responded to those comments saying Indian is top 5, not top 2. Saul, what do you think? Is Bill right? Indian top 5, but not top 2? Chef's kiss, big miss.
So what's the criteria for most important food culture? Is it greatest influence?
I think they were saying greatest influence.
Okay. So I don't know all my history.
Definitely greatest influence. Look, that's the criteria, yeah.
Okay. So they know more than me. All I will say is, so Mexico, because it should be both influence and history, right? Like in Mexico is informed by like hundreds, thousands of years of indigenous heritage, right? Which is really cool. Chinese also, the cuisine, I think I can see it, and they have regional influence. I don't know personally, Bill will know better, how much Mexican cuisine then influenced the rest of Latin American and South American cuisine. Right.
Well, he would say that some of the contributions of Mexican food are, for example, tomatoes, peppers all over the world. Those came from Mesoamerica, what is now Mexico.
So then just the ingredient from a place going to other places. So India had spices, right?
Yeah, that's pretty huge. It's pretty huge.
It's pretty big. But that's not, they're not the only ones with spices. They were spices in Mexico too. So it's like they're in other places. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would rank it. When I heard Mexico, China, and Chinese, Mexican, Chinese, I was like, sure, I'm good with that. I watched this with Emily on the couch and I was like, yeah, that's right. Indian, the argument, spices, ingredients, and then also the export of Indian sort of ways of cooking into Africa via essentially indentured servitude and slavery. And then from Africa to the Caribbean, that's a pretty global influence, man. Like,
Yeah.
and it evolves as it goes through. But there is like, I mean, even the cultural, like I've met like East Africans who are like super into Bollywood and stuff like that. There's like a big cultural exchange down that route that I'm not sure how familiar many Americans are with that. But there is, and how much credit you give Indian cuisine for informing the African cuisine which has its own influences and flavors, and then bringing it into the Caribbean. So I don't know. I'm not trying to rank this or get canceled. Don't clip this, but that's my take.
It's a good one. In the comments, also Middle Eastern food was brought up a lot. Any takes on that?
Fuck that. No, fuck no. Come on. This is a joke.
Come on now. All right. So we're going to skip Shitty Yelp review today because I'm honestly dying. I think I'm going to like just crash after this. Have a great time watching your Sixers take it to Game 7. Good job.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Feel better soon. Sorry you're down in the dumps. And yeah, I'll see you. When's the next time I'm seeing you, man? When are we hanging out?
If I ever if you start saying yes to some of the shit I invite you to.
I said no to one thing. I said no to one thing. You said no to my thing, which is way cooler than your thing.
Whoa, I don't know. You think John Mulaney is cooler than Katie Parla?
John Mulaney at the Hollywood Bowl is cooler than Katie Parla. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We had seats too.
I have an extra concert ticket to a sad girl rock band tomorrow night if you want to come.
I know. You already invited our friend who said no.
Nobody wants to fucking come see Snail Mail. Dear listener, if you're listening to this Friday morning and you want to come see Snail Mail with a guy who recently got over a cold, DM me at the LA Countdown. All right, so I'll go watch your game.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to our guests for making the time for us. As always, we'll be back with another epic episode next week, but if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Thread, YouTube, even our website at the LA Countdown. You can also find us on Instagram at It's Acquired Taste and at acquiredtastemedia.com. If you like what you heard here today, dear listener, please consider going to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating or review, even a follow. That really helps us. It means the world to us. Thank you so much in advance. Before we wrap, a quick reminder that this episode was brought to you by our friends at MVA.wine. If you want to learn more, go back and listen to episode 167 of this podcast dated February 27th of 2026, where I sat down with the founders. They really give you a look inside why this is a special place to find and drink your wine. If you want to discover some truly incredible wines you won't find at stores, check them out at mva.wine/subscribe and use code LAFood for $50 off your first collection. And remember, that offer is only for the first 20 listeners. Let's drink together, dear listener. Enjoy.